Hello everyone and welcome to Crochet with Diane. So I crocheted this blanket for my son and I'm so pleased with how it turned out that I wanted to share with you how to make one. As you can see, it's a very large blanket, but because I've used the extended double crochet stitch, it worked up really fast. There's a link in the description for a video on this stitch, but as always I will walk you through step by step how to crochet this blanket and explain the colour sequences too. For this blanket you will need 3 colours in your choice of colours of a double knit weight yarn. You will need a 5.5mm crochet hook size and the usual darning needle to sew in your ends, a tape measure, any kind of stitch marker, and of course some scissors. If you don't have crafting scissors, obviously good old pair of kitchen scissors is just fine. So the colours of yarn that I wanted for this blanket was neutral colours, but I wanted to add a little bit of warmth. So I thought this colour combination was just nice. Neutral with a little bit of warmth. And instead of getting a brown, I got it's called Merlot. It's like a deep red wine colour. This one is an amethyst. It's called amethyst, so it's a nice purple colour, and cream, and they're all by Deramores Studio DK. So this is the yarn that 3 colours that I've chosen. Obviously you can do whatever colours you like. So choose which colour you want to start with. I'm starting with the cream, and put on your slip knot onto your hook, and we're doing a foundation chain. Now the foundation chain, if you're following along exactly for the blanket that you've just seen in the video, you want to make a foundation chain of 160 plus 4. If you want to make something smaller or larger, you want to do your foundation chain in any multiple of 2 plus the 4 at the end. So go ahead now and make your foundation chain. For this tutorial purposes, I'm just going to make a small swatch so I can show you the stitch pattern. So once you have reached your length or width that you want your blanket, add 4 chains. Okay, so for row 1 we are going to make an extended double crochet into the 5th chain from the hook. So yarn over and count 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put your hook in there, yarn over and pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 1 loop. Then yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2. That's an extended double crochet, and make an extended double crochet into every stitch. So put your hook into the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 1 loop, then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. So keep going with your extended double crochet stitches all the way along till the end of your row. So the end of row 1, this is what your work should look a little like. And for row 2, on to chain 2 and turn your work. And for row 2, which is your pattern repeat row, we are going to make an extended double crochet into the second chain. So not this one here, this one here. So we're skipping this one. So your chain 2 acts as a stitch. We are going to place, and we are working into the back loop only. So the same stitch as row 1, but into the back loop only. So put your hook into the back loop, pull up a loop, and again 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then repeat all the way across this row, but into the back loop only. The next stitch, put your hook in the back loop only, pull up a loop and make your extended double crochet stitch. Back loop only, make your extended double crochet stitch. And continue all the way in every stitch, all the way until the end of the row. Here we are at the end of row 2, and just put in your last, second to last stitch here. And to finish the row, you have this chain. This is your chain 5 from the very first foundation chain. So at the end of every row, what you need to do is put a stitch right into the top of that chain. And because it's at the edge of the row, put it through both loops of the stitch. Like that. Make your last extended double crochet, and that is how you finish row 2. And to continue, you will chain 2 and turn your work. Row 3 is a repeat of row 2, so you make an extended double crochet into the back loop only of the second stitch. and then in each and every stitch along the row. This is a repeat of row 2. So that is the row repeat now for this section of the blanket. And if you're following along, I'm making one exactly the same size that I made. You will repeat row 2 until you have 14, that's 1, 4, 14 rows in total. That's to make the very, very big blanket. If you're making one that's slightly a bit smaller, even half the size, for example, you may want to do 7 rows in this section of the blanket in this color. But however many rows you do, make a note of how many rows you did, because this will repeat round again after we've done the next section of the blanket in the next color. We will be doing this part again. So if you are doing a different amount than 14 rows, just make a note of how many you did so that you know how many to do in the next color. So repeat row 2 for either 14 until you have 14 rows in total, or however many rows you are making your blanket, and then I'll meet you there and show you how to knit the next part. So for the next bit, I've brought the blanket in shot so that you can see which bit we're moving on to. You've done your 14 rows in your cream, and this is where we're doing the different color schemes and the bubble stitches. So I just wanted to show you the next part we're moving into after you've completed your first 14 rows, or however many rows you are doing for your size of your blanket. In this case, for this blanket, it's 14. We're now going to move on. We're going to do the next, pick your next colour. And in this case, it's going to be the Merlot, which is the nice deep red wine colour. I'll show you how to do that next. And then we're going to move on to the bubbles, which is in the same colour as we did the first section. And then we move on to the third colour, which in this case is the amethyst. And then we move on to this next colour, which is the original starting panel. So that's the colour sequence, and I'm going to show you just how to do this next bit, and then we'll move on to do these bubble stitches. So back to the swatch that I'm using, just a small swatch so I can show you the stitch pattern. You can now change colours in any which way you feel comfortable in doing. The way I'm doing is I'm finishing with this colour by starting the last stitch in the cream, and then finishing the stitch with the new colour. Of course, you can use whichever method you prefer. Then I usually just take the two ends and just tie a little overhand knot, And we are ready now to continue with our next colour. So we want to chain 2 and turn our work. We are going to do 2 more rows in this colour. So yarn over, hook into the back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we're doing 2 more rows of the extended double crochet in this second colour. So go ahead, 2 rows of extended double crochet in the back loop only. Okay, so you've done 2 more rows in your second colour of the extended double crochet in the back loop only. Now, I've already changed the colour back to the same colour you did your first 14 rows in. So, now we're going to move on to these nice little bobble stitches. So, chain up 3 chains and turn your work. And for these bobble stitches, we're going to be using a cluster stitch. And we are going to, for these, we will be working through, just show you, through both legs of the stitch, not just the back loop only. So first off, make a extended half double crochet into your second stitch as usual. And then in the next stitch, we're going to make a cluster stitch. And so yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch through both loops and pull up a loop. Yarn over and then pull through 2. Now leaving both loops on your hook, yarn over and then put your hook back into the same stitch, pull up another loop, yarn over and pull through 2. We're going to do that until we have 6 loops on your hook in total. I think that's 5 times, that's 2. So yarn over, hook in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 3. And again. And again. So we've got 6 loops on our hook. Then yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. And then slip stitch into your next stitch. And that makes, on the other side, it makes your cluster stitch. Then yarn over and make a extended double crochet. And now we're going to do another cluster stitch in the next stitch. So yarn over, hook in to the next stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops, leaving those last 2 on your hook. Yarn over, hook in the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, hook in the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, let's get some more wool. Yarn over, hook into the same stitch again, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, hook in the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've now 6 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 6 loops and then slip stitch into the next stitch. And we're going to continue doing this all the way across the row. So the next stitch will be a extended double crochet stitch. Preparing us for the cluster stitch. So you keep making the first part of a double crochet, just like that, until you have 6 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 6 loops and then slip stitch into the next stitch. And then the next one will be an extended double crochet. And then onto your next cluster stitch. So keep going all up the way across your row in this sequence. Six loops on the hook. So your sequence is your extended half double crochet, cluster stitch, and then slip stitch into the next. So continue. It doesn't look much from this side, but from the front your bubbles are starting to appear. continue along the row and I'll meet you at the end of this row. So we're coming up to the end of the first row of bubbles, and if you turn it over, you can see the bubbles starting to emerge. So to finish this row, I'll just bring the camera in. There we go. So as you can see, we've got some stitches left to put in, and I've just slip stitched here. So the next one will be an extended double crochet, and then we're going to put our last cluster stitch into this last, the top of this last stitch here. If you can see, I know the colour's a bit dark, but your last cluster stitch in here, then yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, and then slip stitch into your turning chain just at the top there. Okay, and then chain 1 and turn your work. So for this next row, we need to do a row of single crochets all the way along. So single crochet into each and every stitch along, and they're just tucked slightly down the back of the stitch. You might want to just tilt your work slightly so that you can see the stitch. So put your hook into that first one and just make a single crochet, and then you find the next one, put your hook in, make a single crochet, and make a single crochet in each stitch all the way along the row. Just like this, nice and simple. See, I'm just tilting the work slightly so I can see the stitch. So continue putting in your single crochet stitches all the way along, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. So at the end of this row, you've placed a single crochet into every stitch along, and placing your last single crochet into the top of that chain 3. Then we're going to chain 3, and turn our work. So for our next row of cluster stitches, what we want to do is we're going to make them slightly staggered. So we're not going to place them, stack them on top of each other. We're going to place them in between, just like this. So we're going to put our first one here. So when you've chained 3 and turned, we're going to put our first cluster stitch in the very next stitch. So yarn over and make your first cluster stitch. So you've got 6 loops on your hook, then yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, and then same as before, slip stitch into your next stitch, and then continue in the same sequence. So it's a extended double crochet, and then cluster stitch, and then slip stitch into the next. So repeat this row exactly the same way that you did the first row of cluster stitches, but we're doing these a slightly offset. And I'll meet you at the end of this row. So we're just coming up to the end of this row, and we've got a couple more stitches to go. But before we do, we're going to bring in our next colour, which is in fact our third colour, which in this case is the amethyst, because we're going to change to the third colour after the second row of bubble stitches. So I've just made my last bubble stitch here, so I'll slip stitch into the next, and then we have our turning chain here. So yarn over and make an extended double crochet stitch into your chain 1 turning chain. Okay, now you can again change colour in whichever way you feel comfortable, but I will just do it the way I have been doing for this blanket. So I start the last stitch, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and then I'll leave that there. I'll bring in the next colour and finish the stitch with my next colour. Then just grabbing my scissors, I'll snip off my cream and just get these 2 ends, tie a little overhand knot just to secure it. We will sew in all the ends so they're nice and tidy, and there we have changed colour. And now we are back on to repeating row 2, which is the extended double crochet stitches. So chain 2, and turn your work, and there you can see all your beautiful bubble stitches there. And quite simply, we are now going to do 2 rows in the third colour. So just like we've done here, we're going to yarn over, find your, now this is where obviously you need to probably count your stitches to make sure you've got the same amount that you started your foundation chain. but I would start in the second stitch and make your first extended double crochet stitch, and count your stitches as you're going along. And you need to have the same amount as your foundation chain that you originally did. Obviously increasing or decreasing if necessary. I found that because it's such a big blanket and these bubble stitches are quite intricate, sometimes it works out that it's slightly different. So increase or decrease when necessary, but make sure you've got the same amount. So I'm working through both loops here. I'm going to continue with my extended double crochet stitches in my third colour in every stitch along this row. So continue to do that, and when you get to the end of this row, you will place your last stitch into the top of this turning chain, chain 2, and then when you do the second row, do your extended double crochets but into the back loop only. So I'll go ahead now and make these next 2 rows and I will meet you there. So I've done another 2 rows in our third colour, the amethyst, and at the end of that second row I've changed back to this colour here, the main panel colour here. And what we're going to do is we're going to continue for another 2 rows in this colour 1. So another 2 rows, so chain 2, turn your work. Oh, those ends are just sew in your ends as you're going along, if you find that easier, so they don't get in your way like this. So continue as you were before with the extended double crochet stitch in the back loop only. Now that you've changed back to the cream or your original body panel there, and make 2 more rows of extended double crochet in the back loop only, and I will meet you there and talk you through the remainder of what you need to do. So at the end of the 2 rows of the cream, you can see I've changed colour to the merlot, ready for the next lot of the colour sequences. And I'll just turn all of this over so you can see. So this is the right side up, and if you're working the same colour sequence, it's a 23 row repeat of the colour sequence, not necessarily the stitch pattern. So then we would do the next panel of colours, starting with the Merlot. And you would do 14 rows in this colour and then continue. So I'll go and grab the blanket and just show you the colour, how I did the colour sequence. You do not have to do this 3 colour sequence at all. You could do the entire blanket all in one colour. It would look great. Or if you wanted to, 2 different colours, the extended double crochet rows in one colour and the bubble stitches in another. It's entirely up to you. So I'll just go and grab the blanket and show you how to do the colour sequence going forward. So back to the blanket to show you the colour sequence that I've done for this, and we've started with the cream with the 2 colours either side of the cream bubbles, and then a cream before we go into the next. So the next panel you will make will be the Merlot, the second colour, and the bubbles will be in Merlot with the 2 colours either side. And then the next panel you'll make will be the third colour, which same as this, with the bubbles being in that colour with the 2 colours either side, and then back into the cream with the cream bubbles, 2 different colours either side, back into the Merlot, and that's where I ended the blanket. And I'll show you how to do the border next. But I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels in the pattern sequence that I've just shown you, and as you can see, this is, my bed is king size and it fits plenty with, excuse the wires on the floor, plenty of room. So I hope that helps with the colour sequence. Now I'm just going to quickly show you how to make just a simple border. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of the sort of colour sequence that you can create, which makes the bubbles, the idea really is just to make the bubbles kind of stand out from the extended double crochet rows. Obviously you can do whatever colour sequence you like to do. Now let's move on to the border, which is very simple border. So what we will do is, after you've finished your blanket, you need to pick one of the colours in your blanket. I've picked the amethyst, and attach it to the very corner of the bottom of your blanket. So I'm just going to pull that through and tie a little overhand knot. Then with my hook, push your hook through and pull up a loop and chain 1. And I'm going to pop a stitch marker into this stitch, and quite simple border, half double crochet into every stitch all the way around. So yarn over, find your first stitch, push your hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over, hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. A simple half double crochet, just like that. And then when you get to your corner, I'll show you how to go around the corner. So we've reached the corner, and to go around the corner, quite simply, put in 3 half double crochet stitches into that corner stitch. And 3. And then continue along down the next side of your blanket, putting 1 half double crochet in each stitch. These aren't obvious stitches, but you can put a stitch into the sides of these extended double crochets just like this. And keep going all the way around your blanket. And when you reach your stitch marker, just put in 2 more stitches into that stitch that you started with, which will create your corner. And then slip stitch to finish. And you can make your border as thick or as thin as you like. This is what 1 round of half double crochets look like. On the blanket that I've made, I did 3 in total, exactly the same way as you did the first. So I hope this video helps you to make your beautiful bobble stitch blanket, and happy crocheting, and I will see you next time.